Standing Committee meeting for Communities, 14th of July. Now call the meeting open at 1:41 p.m. And I don't believe we have any requests for leave of absence or apologies, other than to note that our CEO always away on leave, and again welcoming our acting Madam CEO. Good to have you here. Also we've conducted the acknowledgement of our traditional owners this morning in our special budget meeting. Thank you, Councillor Duff, for doing that. We'll move on to item 4, declarations of any declarable or prescribed conflict of interest. So do we have any disclosures from councillors? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, Kirsty Shoemaker, inform this meeting that I have a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item 11.1, which is in the confidential section, the management of Kingaroy, Wandong and Mergen swimming pools. The nature of my interest arises because my sister-in-law and business partner works as a swimming instructor for one of the tenderers, so I propose to leave and stay away from the place where the meeting's being held while this matter is discussed and voted on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. That'll be duly noted. Okay. Right. So, next item on the agenda is 5.1, minutes of the Community Standing Committee meeting held on the 9th of June 2021. I'll hereby move that the minutes of the Community Standing Committee meeting held on 9th of June 2021 be received. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Henson, thank you. Speakers for, against, and questions, concern as to the accuracy of such? Comfortable with the contents of the minutes? Okay, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Item 6.1 is the portfolio report for community, arts, heritage, sport and recreation, and it's my pleasure to call on Councillor Potter to deliver such.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With community, the South Burnett Regional Council's Community Grant Program opens on the 1st of August 2021. Information can be found on Council's website or by visiting the customer service centres. The South Burnett Suicide Prevention Working Group attended Larry Cairns Country Cares Arena Tour at Nanango. Over 200 people turned up over the course of the night, listened to the music, grab a bite to eat, with the South Burnett Suicide Prevention Working Group handing out 150 cupcakes and community information on mental health to anyone who turned up. Around 300 families attended the Under 8s Day in Memorial Park last Thursday, and I'd like to thank all the people and services that turned up and helped out, as you made a huge difference with the smiles on the children's faces. Here, I'm sorry, I'm going to add something in here because I would really like to thank the Parks and Gardens staff because they did come to help us in the morning, and I'd also like to thank Matt from Workplace Health and Safety as he helped us with the QR code, so I'd just like that mentioned, thank you. The Marcus Mission are holding a men's catch-up barbecue and workshop at the Kingaroy Showgrounds on Thursday the 5th of August from 4:30 to 5:30, and then 5:30 to 7:30 is the Resilience Building Workshop. The Australian Livestock Markets Association invites residents to join the conversation exploring the social value of sale yards tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Coolabunnya Sale Yards. So please head on out there and have a conversation with Blue Wren Consulting. Some date claimers for community. So Child Protection Week is the first week in September, Are You OK Day on the 9th of September, and Reclaim the Night for Sexual Violence Against Women on the 21st of October. Council will also be discussing the Every Age Counts campaign to end ageism and build awareness of ageism and its impact to the community, which is in line with our corporate plan. Library. First of all, we'll give you some quick stats. Actually, no, it won't. I'll do them last, sorry, because that's exciting stuff. South Burnett Partnerships for Kids, Under 8s Day in the Park, which I mentioned earlier, but the South Burnett Libraries participated in the South Burnett Partnerships for Kids Under 8s Day at Memorial Park. Shelley and Judy from the library spent the morning promoting the services that the libraries offer whilst creating puppet crafts and reading. This was a fantastic morning that showcased all the wonderful services that are available in our community. The Tech Savvy Seniors Queensland Grant, the first outreach tech program hosted by South Burnett Libraries, has recently been acquitted with a report of the program's successes and challenges sent through to the State Library of Queensland. The Tech Connected Seniors in the South Burnett program consisted of weekly classes conducted by library staff at Arana, and one of the many highlights of the sessions including seeing the attendees bringing out their devices to the classes. Some of the tablets and iPads had been sitting forgotten in the drawers for years, so it was wonderful to see the participants gain the confidence in themselves to be able to use them. The first 5 Forever Libraries Literacy and Little Ones training. On the 24th of June, 3 members of the library team travelled to the State Library of Queensland to attend the Libraries Literacy and Little Ones workshop. This day of professional development provided the opportunity for staff to build the skills and confidence necessary to facilitate South Burnett Library's first 5 Forever Rhyme Time and Story Time programs. Feedback from this training was very positive, with each team member valuing the chance to learn how to best deliver programming to children under 5 and their families. NAIDOC Week. NAIDOC Week is an opportunity for all Australians to come together to celebrate the rich history, diverse cultures and achievements of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples of the oldest continuing cultures on the planet. This year's theme is Heal Country, and to acknowledge NAIDOC Week, the Kingaroy Library is showcasing a collection of artwork that is owned by a local resident, Andrew Towns. The works featured include a number of vibrant paintings, boomerangs and didgeridoos. These will be on display during the month of July in the Kingaroy Library foyer. Tony Park's author events. The South Burnett Libraries are all very excited to announce that best-selling author Tony Parks has confirmed 2 events in our region. Tony will be speaking about his latest novel, Blood Trails, at both the Kingaroy and Nanango Libraries on Monday the 26th. In Tony's thriller Blood Trail, written during lockdown, fictitious characters deal with very real problems COVID had caused for Africa's endangered wildlife. It will be released worldwide on the 1st of August. Bookings for Tony's author events in Kingaroy and Nanango are strictly capped due to COVID regulations, so those wishing to attend are please asked to either contact the library to secure a place. Children's Book Week in the South Burnett Libraries is from the 21st to the 27th of August this year. So each year across Australia, the Children's Book Council of Australia brings children's books together to celebrate Children's Book Week. And in 1946, Children's Book Council of Australia established an annual book awards to promote children's books of high literacy and artistic quality. These awards are now the most influential and highly respected in Australia. South Burnett Libraries holds a copy of each of the shortlisted titles. To help celebrate this year's Book Week, South Burnett Libraries will be hosting a very special Children's Book Week story time in each branch. This year's theme is Old Worlds, New Worlds, Other Worlds. So the library is asking children who attend to come dressed as their favourite book character. For more information about these sessions will be available on the library's Facebook page and Instagram pages. The arts. South Burnett Regional Council supported the CQ RASN with a successful grant to the Queensland Government Category C Bushfire Grant. The funding will enable creative recovery training to be rolled out, and the Kingaroy rolled out through Kingaroy, Fraser Coast and Mundubbera. Training of up to 60 people in the arts, health and community sectors to facilitate arts projects and lead communities in the wake of natural disasters. Creativity and the arts can be a powerful tool to help build the resilience of our communities and to help people heal from trauma. South Burnett Arts and CQ-RASM would like to advise that the next South Burnett Arts Roundtable discussion will take place tomorrow, the 15th of July, between 10 and 12 at the Mergen Town Hall Supper Room. Please RSVP. If you're not too sure, please check CQ-RASN or South Burnett Arts Facebook page. Now, there are a few pictures in that report at the end of all the different things the library has been up to, but I'd like to go back to the quick stats, which I didn't read out earlier. Sorry, Linnell. But look, in the last financial year, we've had 118,000 plus visitors to the South Burnett Libraries. We've had 1,033 physical loans. There has been 22,618 e-book and audiobook or Belinda loans. There has been 12,516 patrons that are satisfied because their reserves have been collected. 65,196 physical collection items in over their 6 library branches. And there was 6,192 new items added to the collection, which is approximately 119 items added each week. And on top of that, we gained 996 new members to our libraries. So I think that in itself is pretty amazing considering the past year we've had. So I'd like to congratulate our library staff for such a fantastic job. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that my Community Arts Heritage Sport and Rec portfolio be received. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Fraloff, thank you. Okay, questions? Discussion on the report? Otherwise, we'll go. Yep. Councillor Fraloff, thank you.
Sorry, Mac. Yeah, I'd just like to acknowledge that I attended the Larry Can concert in Nanango, worked behind the bar with Michael Hunter and a couple of others. It was a good night. It was a shame that it was raining too, but everyone that was there really enjoyed it, and it would be good to see that come around again. It was really good. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, we'll go to the vote. Are those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you all. 7.1 is the Rural Services NRM Planning and Compliance Services Portfolio Report, and it's now my pleasure to welcome Councillor Henson to present such.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pleasure I be able to deliver this Rural Services, Natural Resource Management and Planning and Compliance Services report to the Chambers today. In Rural Services and Natural Resource Management, Harrisia cactus detention. Council pest management contractors have detected an outbreak of Harrisia cactus on an unformed section of road in Glendavon, Nanango. Harrisia cactus is a restricted Category 3 weed not known to be present elsewhere within the South Burnett. This is an unpalatable, succulent and can form dense infestations that, if unmanaged, will reduce pastures to a level unsuitable for stock, and seeds are highly viable and readily spread by birds. NRM staff and contractors will be working with Biosecurity Queensland to identify possible sources and pathways of spread. Surveillance and treatment programs will commence in the coming weeks, and landowners are encouraged to be on the lookout for this cacti species and report any suspected sightings to Council's NRM staff on 41899 In Blackbutt, the flying fox roost, talked about regularly over the last couple of months. A public meeting was held on the 17th of June at Blackbutt Golf Club to discuss community concerns, provide information about human and animal health, the recommendations of the roost review and options available for future management. Speakers including representatives from Queensland's Health, Department of Agriculture and Fisheries and Redleaf Environmental. Whilst the flying fox population has dramatically reduced in the last few weeks, it was identified that modification of understory vegetation would minimise the potential of little red flying foxes roosting there again in the future. Project works must be completed prior to September to align with the breeding cycles of the flying fox species that have been known to frequent the roost. NRM and park staff have commenced scoping works and options and costs for council to remove understory on properties affected by the roost in accordance with the flying fox roost management guidelines are as follows. In option 1, $29,502.40 is to remove understory by hand and transport to landfill in daylight hours and supervision by ecologists required. Herbicide treatment of regrowth. In option 2, $38,633.40 to remove understory by hand and transport to landfill at night with no ecologist supervision required and herbicide treatment of the regrowth. Option 3 is $35,911.80 to remove understory using Positrack mulcher in daylight hours and supervision by ecologists required and herbicide treatment of regrowth. And in option 4, $45,000 and $7.40 to remove the understory using a Positrack mulcher at night, with no ecologist supervision required, but herbicide treatment of regrowth. All these options are based on the removal of understory vegetation only up to 15 centimetre diameter breast height. The works are estimated to take 5 days and only 10% of the roost can be modified each day. In Queensland Feral Pest Initiative, the following application was submitted to the Queensland Feral Pest Initiative on Wednesday, the 28th of April 2021. A Building and Invasive Species Management Alliance in the Burnett. Funding to appoint a regional invasive species coordinator to assist in the establishment of landowner-led work groups to manage invasive plants and animals. Project partners include the Gympie Regional Council, the North Burnett Regional Council, Cherbourg Aboriginal Shire Council, the Mary River Catchment Coordinating Committee, South Burnett Grazing Network, the Maidenville Wild Dog Syndicate and the Ironpot Wild Dog Syndicate. The Program Oversight Committee contacted Council to advise they were supportive of the project but would not be able to fund the total amount requested. After consulting with Project Steering Committee members, it was decided that the application be resubmitted with a reduced project budget, targets and project term. A revised application will be submitted for further assessment. In fire management, the Queensland Fire and Emergency Services volunteers have undertaken a prescribed burn at Mount Warrulan. Other reserves are awaiting the appropriate wind direction, speed and soil moisture levels to achieve a safe burn that will also reduce fuel loadings. NRM staff met with Queensland Fire and Rescue Services and Queensland Parks and Wildlife Services to plan a coordinated burn at Banarkin. And might I say, with the recent rainfall we've had, that the risks there have certainly subsided somewhat to what they were. Environmental assessments. NRM staff completed 4 environmental assessments for vegetation removal associated with road construction, and 6 roadside burning and fence line clearing applications were approved. In weed management, a total of 24 hectares of weed control was completed in June. Biosecurity officers inspected 67 properties for the presence of honey locust, mother of millions and other restricted weeds. Treatment of honey locusts continued on the Baramba Creek. Lantana was targeted at Nanango, South Nanango and Coolabunna, and mother of millions treatment continued at Bowie, Mergen, Wandai, Nanango and South Nanango. And Council's weed management contractors detected Harrisia cactus on an unformed road in Nanango as mentioned earlier. Splatter guns were loaned by landholders at Brooklands for lantana control. Spray trailers were loaned to assist with giant rat's tail grass programs and groundsel treatment at Cloyna and Barlil. And in our wild dog and feral pig control, Council provided landowners with 1,284 wild dog baits, 228 feral pig baits in June that were distributed across an area of 20,654 hectares. Cut traps were loaned by landholders in Geelong and at Sunnynook, and pig traps were used by landholders at Mergen and Reedy Creek. 4 kilograms, I beg your pardon, of carrots were containing calicivirus were distributed for rabbit control at Coolabunna and South Nanango. My word, if we had 4 kilometres of carrots, there'd be some carrots, wouldn't there? The Coolabunna sale yards staff conducted 1,749 cattle tick inspections and dipped 1,788 head. A total of 887 head were sold through the Coolabunna sale yards in June. In stock route grazing permits, there was only 1 stock route adjustment application was received and processed in June. In wandering livestock, Council received 9 requests to attend to wandering livestock across the region, and 1 heifer was impounded. In planning, Council is continuing to see strong demand for development services and property searches in relation to property sales and transfers. And I'm pleased to advise Council has been able to successfully recruit an additional plumbing inspector who commenced this week to assist our current officer with the present demand for services. Unfortunately though, the search for an additional building certifier continues, with the latest officer identified withdrawing, and Council continues to rely on an additional support from a contracted private certifier. In environmental health and compliance and COVID-19 restrictions have impacted South East Queensland councils. The South Burnett thankfully has remained out of these lockdowns. Keeping abreast of the changes has been necessary, but no significant restrictions needing to be implemented for the South Burnett at the time of finalising this report. And in compliance, the Temporary Dog Registration Compliance Officer is finding a number of unregistered dogs and has also had a positive influence on people voluntarily registering new dogs. And that's the section statistics for details on the new dog registrations prove that. One of Council's compliance officers has resigned and the vacant position has been advertised. The temporary compliance officer contractor that has been replacing a long-term absence will continue until August 2021. And with that, Mr Mayor and Councillors, I'd like to move that my Natural Resource Management Portfolio Report, NRM and Compliance be accepted.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Potter, thank you. Any questions, commentary? Councillor Jones?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a question through you to Councillor Henson in regards to this cactus. Is there any opportunity for us to see a photo or some sort of an identification of this weed? And just on the flying fox issue in the Blackbutt area, GM, will that come back to a general meeting for discussion? Where does that go from there? How do we decide that, or is that through you guys, through the staff?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, so the Linnell's just got up the photo. It's in the agenda of the Heurissia cactus. I can get the fact sheet and download and circulate that through councillors at deep dive, and have got the weed deck fact sheet, so we can send the information around about habitat and that. But yeah, that's the. Oh yeah, Mark's got one here. Here's one he's prepared earlier.
Page 34.
But yeah, so we'll send the full fact sheet around. And yeah, so from the
There it is up there.
just on the flying fox. So yeah, we're actually intending to proceed with the remote option one, obviously for this. So yeah, as outlined in the report, there's a couple of different options, and the expensive bit gets, like, you can either do it at daytime, but under the code we're required to have a qualified person supervise that. So if you have the flying foxes, if you start to upset the roost, then you've got to stop what you're doing. There's restrictions on, as said, you can only take 10% of the understory each day. So it is a sort of time-consuming and labour-intensive process. We don't have to have the supervisor at night, but once you start to put your overtime rates in at night time, it becomes a lot more costly, a lot more probably a lot safer to do it during the daytime. So yeah, we're looking at, with a combination of contractors and our Parks and Gardens staff because this will be looking at doing this in August. So or even late July, August. So we've really got to get into it now. So yeah, we intended to proceed with that, and we think it'll, while there is a cost to it, it's probably a good ruse to have a look at the impact of this reduction of the undergrowth, and most of it is just weeds in that underneath these trees. So yeah, there is a cost there, but we do see, to support the Blackbutt community, that it probably is worth trying to get in and do that.
Okay, if there's no other speakers, we'll go to the vote on this one. Those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you all. 7.2 is the NRM operational update at 35. Recommending that the Natural Resource Management operational update be received for information. Do we have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Potter. Second, Councillor Froloff. Any questions in relation to the report? If not, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay. 7.3 is the Planning and Land Management operational update at page 39. It's recommended that the Planning and Land Management operational update be received for information. Do we have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Henson. Second, Councillor Potter. Speakers? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Coolarbunya Sale Yards review was item 7.4 at page 44. And, okay. Council's focus now turns to considering other options to make the centre viable and realise its potential. There's a recommendation there in relation to that process. So we might just lead into a discussion on this. GM Manager, did you want to give us some information around this before we formalise it? A bit of introduction, thank you.
Yeah, I might just hand over to Mark to put the report together for us. But yeah, we did look at, I suppose, we looked at the preferred ownership structure as far as if it was going to a commercial standalone entity. But yeah, we've got the legal advice around that, where we don't see that as a viable way to go forward. So it's really looking at us continuing to operate, but reviewing some of those the fees and around that. So, but I'll hand over to Mark, who can talk through the report.
Thanks, councillors. So yeah, the ownership structure for that preferred ownership structure with a standalone. Sorry. Yeah, as a business entity is probably something that it's such a small operation that there's no merit in doing that, and I think you might read that in the terms of the report that it's really only those very large enterprises that would be separated from council's operations and reported separately. So there's no benefit in doing that. So I think that's pretty obvious from what's in the report there. The revised fees and charges. So I think you'll note from the table at the back of the report that it is probably prudent to really have a closer look at the fees and charges generated from that facility and make them, I think we've talked about that certainly at the officer level for some time, about the fees and how they're probably not comparable to other sale yards. It's very hard to compare one lot of fees and charges from one sale yards compared to another, because people generate those fees differently depending on what's happening, you know, with the sale and how the cattle are checked off, weighed and scratched and that sort of thing. So I think that, you know, a good thorough review of those fees from a working group perspective would be quite beneficial, and perhaps how those fees are generated by the sales agents at the time and how they're passed on, etc. And these elements come from Council's original resolution, as you probably note. So going forward, you can see that on a basic cash flow projection, that incorporating depreciation, so I'm sort of basically referring to item 3, that you know, there's going to be ongoing losses at that facility. However, if you analysed increases in fees, there's a potential for it to come back to a more, I guess, profitable situation, but that depends on various decisions about those fees and how we go about adjusting them and recommending them back to council for adoption. So that whole process would be achieved through that working group. And the capital investment program. So I guess in summary, we really have, I guess the focus has been off Coolangatta sale yards because there's been a hiatus there, because I guess the assumption was that council was going to sell that facility and various asset upgrades were not progressed, and we've kind of fallen behind in the asset replacement program, and I guess we just need to rethink the overall strategy and refocus on that facility. And I guess by doing that and also making some serious choices about what assets need to be upgraded there, make that facility a little bit more, you know, not presentable but safe and workable. That, you know, that's a priority, obviously. And obviously there's the funding that comes with that. So in item 4 of the report, I've summarised our 10-year capital works program amounting to $570,000 over that 10-year period. And then the following table is a detailed list of the actual general priorities there. And there's a lot of issues, particularly with water and, you know, underground water and troughs and things like that. And I do, at the end of the report, I do refer to the Building Better Regions Fund, and hoping that perhaps, you know, we're successful in that space. And, you know, despite getting a significant amount of money from grant funding, we do have to come up with some money ourselves, so, but that would be used basically to upgrade yards and those priorities as contained in the application, which is mainly, enhancements to the selling pens, platforms, water infrastructure, obviously, and other, welfare and biosecurity issues. So my thoughts were to get a working group together where we could go through the strategy and the priorities and the operations of that sale yards and really, again, apply some refocus on it and try and get it working and profitable again, and look at whatever other opportunities are there to be able to improve its operation generally. It might be that we incorporate other officers within council to assist in that process. It might be various staff in my department who have a bit of knowledge about it, as well as others like our senior sport and recreation officer, for example. Obviously, our NRM super coordinator would be useful, and just people who are familiar with how it operates, and obviously the expertise of councillors or their value judgments on how that should be done and considered and brought back to council for further consideration. So just by way of summary, Mr Mayor, that's where it sits, and the recommendation is to really just establish that working group and come back to council. A lot of the things that working group would consider are already there. A lot of that information is really just dusting it off and pulling it back out again, and applying thought to that, and obviously using the current councillors to help us, go through those issues or operational improvements that we've probably already identified, but really have just been put on hold because of the fact that the whole facility was put out to tender. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thanks very much, Acting Manager. Okay, so we have the recommendation there as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Potter. Any speakers for or against? Questions? Discussion? Anyone? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think this is a right approach in the first instance. I think there's a lot of information and a lot of things we've learned about Coolangatta sale yard, certainly through the tender process and over the last 12 months of this term of council. And I actually think we really do need to take a deep dive here in terms of the operations, opportunities for the future, and what innovations are happening in the industry. As I know, there's a rise of online selling platforms. There's a number of agents in the area. I think this actually will involve a lot more conversations, and I think we're only just scratching the surface here. I appreciate the work that's been done, and I recognise there are significant maintenance challenges at the yards. However, I do also recognise that, this is one of our biggest challenges in terms of being the closest level of government to the people, and the fact that we are trying to balance the needs of delivering services while providing a return, and a return in the sense that the facilities are available and open to the public. So I think the work that's been done here is really comprehensive. I think it sets us up for a good start, and I look forward to I think that committee. I think the people you've recommended for the committee are great. I know Councillor Henson from a rural point of view. Certainly Councillor Potter has spoken about the mental health benefits of a facility like this. So I look forward to what they bring back and nutting this out further with my colleagues here. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wondered whether, because of my portfolio of rural resilience, so it doesn't worry me, but it is, as far as the application goes, that Building Better Regions application, I led that whole project, and also my portfolio is rural resilience, and I do have a fair bit of experience around sale yards and cattle. So I just wanted to, just wonder about the whole portfolio thing and where that sits. That's all.
Yeah, so Councillor, you're quite entitled to move an amendment to the motion if you wanted to add your name in, or being a committee meeting, I'm happy for it just to be tossed around the room. Mark, what are your thoughts?
I think I should have put Councillor Duff in the recommendation, actually. probably because of my, I chose Councillor Potter because it was the divisional arrangement, but I think I neglected to add Councillor Duff, and I guess I may have missed that opportunity. And so yes, whether you do an amendment or I just recommend that her name go in, and also Michael Hunter perhaps could be one, and I haven't spoken to that officer yet, but with his experience by virtue of his role, maybe a useful candidate to be on there as well. I don't want to cast a thousands, but I think that would be quite useful.
Thanks, Mark. So, Councillor Shoemaker, are you comfortable if in the motion we add Councillor Duff and the Senior Recreational Officer?
Yes, absolutely. Not a worry. And I just probably wanted to add, in terms of that review, I recognise in the report that you've written, that sale yards aren't council's core business, and perhaps our staff don't have the expertise in this area. And I really do encourage that committee to look outside of our region and contact the other sale yard facilities and really take some of the learnings from those operations. I think that'll be really important here going forward. Councillor
Potter, you comfortable with that slight change to the resolution? Okay, let's go to the vote. Those in favour? Hang on, sorry, Councillor Jones, my apologies.
No.
Councillor Jones, you're right?
Happy to let it slide.
Happy to let it go, okay. Let's go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you, Manager. Waste Management Portfolio Report is at 52, and it's now my pleasure to introduce Councillor Froloff to deliver such.
Thank you, Mayor. Waste Compliance Officer position. The state-funded position has been identifying a number of illegal littering and dumping matters. In most instances, the perpetrators were able to be identified and are going back and cleaning up their mess. This position has also been involved in proactive waste education, attending the Cloyne State School and speaking with the young students about the correct disposal of waste, educating the next generation to do the right thing. And for capital works, update the Maidenwell Transfer Station. Construction of the new automated waste transfer station is underway early in 2021. And if through you, Mayor, I'd like to just ask Peter O'May where we are up at that. Thank you. Can I please get my waste management portfolio to be accepted, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Jones, thank you. Okay, GMOMA, question?
So we have reached agreement with the property owner for that thing, and we actually have also got approval for clearing of, there was some vegetation that was of concern. So that should be able to move forward now. So a couple of big question marks over that project that we're we've jumped over. And probably just while I've just through you, Mr. Mayor, just acknowledge the work that the Marina, the waste officer, is doing with the Cloyne School. So if you go out to that transfer station in the future, they've actually the kids have done up little signs for us, and so it might say scrap metal here. So they've got little drawings, and Marina's turned them into signs or whatever. So so just getting a bit of that local feel. So for the kids, have helped us with our signage at the tips, and so that's a sort of work that she's doing. And the other point in that with we're looking with that officer is when we have illegal dumping, we often race out and clean that up straight away so to get it off, but we're actually trying to trial a different strategy of actually leaving it there, taping it off and having signage up there that's currently under investigation. So people know that we are actually, and it's got there, so we actually sign it and leave it there so people don't think, no one cares about it. So rather than clean it up and then wait till the next one, it's sort of trying to change the focus. So we may leave it there for a while and sign it that it's under investigation, just so people know that it's not, that it's not kosher.
Thanks, GM. I'm not sure about the others, but I think that's a brilliant strategy. What a way to to educate, better word, the community than to highlight it. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I circulated some information after coming back from the National General Assembly, certainly around the opportunities for circular economy and the federal government's announcements around the Recycling Modernisation Fund and the National 2030 Waste Policy targets. I've circulated that information for councillors, and I certainly appreciate that we've had a giant couple of weeks with the budget, but it is an area that I do think we need to get together and put some concerted thought and effort into looking at those opportunities and whether there may be potential for our region in that space. So it's probably just a bit of a flagging it with you, GMO May, if it's something that we can perhaps consider or your team could have a look at and bring something back. I'm very keen to explore these opportunities. There is funding out there, and I guess I was really inspired by some of the stories that I heard at the conference. Some really innovative things happening around. There was one city that has their McDonald's has partnered with a kitty litter facility locally, and they're recycling all their coffee grounds through those facilities. There's some really innovative things happening in the composting space, and I understand organic matter actually makes up a large percentage of landfill. And there's also some very big conversations happening in the space of product stewardship in terms of, you know, when we buy it off the shelf, does that company producing that product contribute to recycling it? And I know we've got in our operational plan a focus on looking at recycling going ahead, but I do think there are opportunities there. There are councils doing really great things in this space, and we do need to lean in and have a bit of a look around is some of my feedback. So just probably keen to hear from you, GMO May, or certainly Manager Patch, what work might have been done in this space, or whether there's capacity to maybe start a working group or to talk about some of these things and see where we may land.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. We might take that one on notice. So that, Manager Patch just missed the first half of your thing. So, but yeah, certainly, and that was whole part of the state waste levy, which we'll talk to, is about trying to put some funding. Even it is putting funding so you can create that circular economy in the waste area. So we might actually. It's probably something that we do need to workshop. And the next item that we're going to talk about recycling probably fits into this as well. Introduction or extension of the waste contract. So yeah, it's probably best if we come back rather than.
Yeah, that would be great. I think some sort of workshop and some bigger discussions, you know, by all means, I think the team has made enormous progress with the resources that we've had, but I do think there are opportunities out there, and there are these federal funds, and I keep seeing ministerial posts of different areas leveraging those funds, and I guess I would love to see with the work that's been done with the Cherbourg Aboriginal Council, the Cherbourg Material Recycling Facility, Containers for Change. I think there's an enormous opportunity here, and we need to be thinking outside the box a little bit. So I'd welcome the opportunity maybe to catch up for a workshop or something like that.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Environment and Waste Services update. Item 8.2 at 53. Recommended that the update be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Jones. Seconder, Councillor Froloff. Any discussion? Questions? Go to the Councillor Schumacher. Yep, you're right. Okay, go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 8.3 Waste Collection Services Contract, possible extension and curbside recycling survey at 56. And GM, we might let you and the manager lead us through this one to start off. Thank you.
Yeah, I might just hand straight over to Manager Patch, who's put the report together, and let Craig talk to it.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, this report is in response to some questions we were getting around the interest that the councillors had about getting curbside recycling on board, and there was some discussion around whether to engage with the community and do a survey or not do a survey. And the survey that we did last time, which was back in 2013, that actually was asking a couple of questions. I think people potentially were getting a little bit confused back in 13 because we were actually also asking whether they wanted a 3-bin system, which was actually recycling, general waste and a green waste bin. Now, I don't know if jumping straight from a 1 to a 3 bin was always going to be a solution. But the response back, there was only 7% of people who were interested in a 3-bin system anyway. So moving forward, it's a question of if you do want to us to engage with the community to do this survey, and then if we do go out to contract, that's going to cause us, as far as when the expiry date goes, we're going to be getting quite close to that. And so we're suggesting that also because the feedback from the contractor is that the chassis that they would need for the new truck, for any new contract, there's a delay in getting those imported into Australia. So that's going to push out the time frame as far as when we're going to be able to go to market or to tender. So we're suggesting that council exercise its first extension option, and so buying another 12 months so that the survey can be done. Hopefully the international situation with those truck chassis will resolve itself, and then we can also go out through the tender process, because for any contractor, whether it's any contractor, they're going to have to get those trucks made. It's not like you go to the supermarket and you buy an item. Those trucks, they normally put orders in, and because from what we've heard from some of our other council compatriots, they're going out to tender at the moment as well. So some of those larger councils, perhaps in the southeast Queensland, are going to perhaps get first priority over us and the trucks anyway. So we would just be suggesting that council exercise its option to extend the existing contract just for 1 year.
Thank you, Manager. I think we'll have a discussion about this one before we go into formalising any recommendation to council. Let's go around the table. Councillor, so we've got a situation here where JJ Richards' contract on the wheelie bins runs out in 12 months' time. And we're being asked to consider extending that by an extra 12 months, which would give them another 2 years until July 23. And Manager, you're indicating that would mean that would delay the implementation of, that would give them time to implement any required recycling, any yellow lid, if I can call it that, but by the same token would delay the implementation of the yellow lid until July 23. Would that be the case? Yeah, okay, just want to clarify that. All right, what do committee members think? Questions, concerns?
I guess, yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I will support this recommendation today because it's a significant thing and a concern in the community about recycling, and this council has spoken about it in our term so far. So well and truly aware of the significance of recycling, and I'm also aware of the cost implications for not only JJ Richards but us as a council. And I also understand the fact that when we get down to the track, we've got dump sites and all that sort of stuff, and then we're rapidly approaching their useful life, and we have to close them down. So anything that we can do to reduce the amount of rubbish that's going in there is going to be a benefit to us, obviously. But the initial upfront costs, not only to JJ Richards, and it'll be significant to the council as well. And I think we need to take, this is an issue where we do need to take a little bit of time, and we have that 12-month grace period, I guess, if you want to call it for want of a better term, to have that extension for the JJ Richards contract to enable us to get precise feedback from the community, because it will all come down to the cost and whether the ratepayer is willing to pay the extra cost that's going to be put on them for the recycling. So I think it is something that we need to ask the community 100%. I think it's something that we need to take our time on and get it right, and fully weigh up the implications financially to the council, and and taking into consideration the concerns with JJ Richards, they're not going to be able to, or that's just one contractor too. Obviously, there's other contractors out there that may have trucks ready to go, but yeah, I will support this extension simply on that premise that we do need to ask the community, we do need to take our time, and we do need to be very careful and cautious, because it will come down to the money. That's where it'll come down to. People will want it, but they won't want to pay for it, and that's what happened in the last survey. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that's where we're going to have to try and work through a system and a program to enable us as a council to implement curb recycling at a very, very minimal cost, or whatever we can do, taking that into consideration. So I will support this recommendation here today.
Now, General Manager, I know you've shared this information with us before. The cost, just picking up on Councillor Jones's views there, the cost to the ratepayer for the yellow bin collection, annual cost for that fortnightly collection, what was that figure again?
We don't know the dollar value of that at the present moment in time. So what it was going to be back in 2014 was in the ballpark of $55. That was 7 years ago, 8 years if you take it up to the end of this current contract, so 9 if you extend. So I would assume with the increasing costs over that length of time that I'll be really surprised if it's going to be $55 again. Now, if I say $80 or I say $90 or I say $100, I'm just plucking a number out of the air because we haven't gone and tested the market. When we go to tender, the prices that come in, that's obviously going to be your market price at the time. So the problem will be is if we are to survey the community and say, okay, so we did this in 2013, so we're going to do this again now. Do you want recycling? I mean, that's a simple question to ask, but as Councillor Jones has pointed out, if you say, do you want to have recycling, yes or no, but are you prepared to pay $80, $90 for it, you may get a very different answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, can I?
And the upfront cost that Councillor Jones talks about, significant upfront cost to council, what's it going to cost us in terms of infrastructure to implement that?
Yeah, so if you go out to tender on a contract, and just to clarify too that there's no guarantee that JJs will get the contract. It's obviously going to be open to market forces at the time. But the upfront cost to council will become, so if the tender says, what's the price to give us a general waste collection and a recycle, and you can split those, you can make them separable portions if you wish. They'll come back with a price, and let's just, for argument's sake, and this is just for argument's sake, say it's $80, and that's going to be the upfront cost to council, which you then pass on through the rates to people who actually utilise that service. So, because we're not going to be buying the trucks, we're not buying any of the infrastructure, the contractor, or you could word the contract such that it's all at their expense, that they provide the infrastructure, they provide the bins. Presently, the general waste bin that we have, council doesn't own that, the contractor owns the bin, so it's a very simple case. If a bin splits, breaks, gets damaged, that's at the contractor's expense, not at council's. So there would be there wouldn't be any capital expense for council up front. It would just be whatever that yearly collection fee will be for the recycle bin. That would be the cost that council would either then absorb, or you just pass that on to the resident who gets that service.
So just confirming, there is no, in fact, upfront costs for council. There would be a decision of council to levy the ongoing operating costs, which obviously the contractor would factor in all their capital costs. They would amortise that into their pricing schedule. Okay, thank you. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm just going to read my notes, so I will sit, sorry. But I am absolutely not supportive of this recommendation. There's probably no surprises there. To be completely honest, waste, I understand, is one of the biggest contracts council will sign. It's also the biggest growing sector in terms of manufacturing, and governments have a desire to grow that. Recycling reform means that federal government aims to see an 80% diversion of waste from landfill to resource recovery by 2030, and I'm significantly I'm concerned that if we sit on this for another year, we will have missed the boat. Like, the time to act, in my opinion, and to really do the work is now. And I think there's a real appetite across the country to expedite efforts in recycling reform. I think, to be completely honest, to go to the community about an issue like this when there are a number of local governments that have declared, and I'm, a climate emergency, and I'm mindful that may be perceived in many different ways, but the reality is no, I will not sit on this for 12 months, not when we have an opportunity to go to the market, to test the market. And I also believe we need to be having conversations. Like, I'd be very interested in what conversations we've had with Cherbourg Aboriginal Council about supporting their material recycling facility, because I understand there are arrangements where Gympie are already doing that. I also think there are opportunities to investigate that organics bin and actually have a 3-bin situation, but I know some councils only have their actual waste bin collected one time a week because one time a fortnight, because that reduces cost. I also know the sizes of those bins can vary, and I completely understand the complications with the truck. However, this is a giant contract. We are, the people of our region, paying good money for waste management, and I believe we need to be doing that work now. I think to sit on this for another year, I'm certainly not prepared to do that. So I would not be supporting this. I think we need to go full steam ahead, noting that we've all talked about, I've sat in this chamber for the last 12 months, the fact that that contract expires on the 1st of July, or 2nd of July 2022 is no surprise. We've been talking about that for 12 months. No, I want to see the work done now. And I know, I have all confidence that yes, it will be an expense. However, I sat down for a parent-teacher interview just this week. I've been contacted by numerous residents in Division 4 and across the region who are fully supportive of recycling. So I completely understand this old school mentality that it will cost, and we'll have to, people won't be willing to pay the cost. Well, I would challenge that because I think there's a whole wave of people in our community who are prepared to pay the cost. If we don't pay it, future generations will. So there's no way no way I would support this without further work being done. And at the moment, locking ourselves into another year when the government's talking about, massive reductions by 2030 does not make any sense to me at all. So that's my view.
Okay, Councillor Jones, we might just give other councillors an opportunity to speak. You've had yours, so just take your light off, thanks. Councillor Froloff.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry. Is there any chance that we can get the survey into the next rate notice that goes out? Is it? Sorry.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so we could conduct the survey sort of relatively quickly if that's council's wishes. And I suppose that was part of the discussions today. Was it council's intention to survey the community, or was it council's intention just to seek to introduce recycling and not worry about if we're talking about whether there's a cost or no cost? Do we if you want to go straight to introducing a recycling service without a survey, then we can fast track the process. But
in terms of answering the question, GM, if council, I'm not saying they did, but if council wanted to do a survey, is it possible that we could get that out in the August rates notices?
We could get that out in August, yeah.
You could do that? Okay. Yep.
Sorry. I do and I don't agree with Councillor Shoemaker. I totally agree that we have to start looking into the recycling sooner rather than later. But JJ Richards is our contractor. So by not supporting this, like who else around the South Burnett does bins. Like, are you saying that we should look at another contractor for JJ Richards or experience?
Well, I imagine what you're proposing, this is a giant contract and this would go to open tender as any other contract would. And there have been giant evolutions in waste management. So whilst JJ Richards is our current contractor and they would be given an opportunity to tender, I don't know, but I imagine like every other tender that council operates, there may be others in that open market, and that would be the point of testing the market, would be to find out. So unless we do that, we would never know. The status quo would remain. So that's my view.
Okay. You're comfortable, councillor? Okay. You got more there,
No,
councillor?
you're right.
Okay. Councillor Jones, go your hardest.
Yeah, no, Mr Mayor, it's quite embarrassing, this comment that I've got to make. You know, I've got to admit that I read that wrong. I thought that was, I didn't read that I read it without my glasses, and I thought it was 22, and until Councillor Shoemaker over there alerted me to it, I thought it was, my apologies. So I am very keen. I thought we still had this 12 months. That's the period we were talking about, extending it for this 12 months, not until the following 23. My apologies to the chamber. I misread the dates and until councillor. So I'm fully supportive of acting and getting, I thought the survey was going out and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I've had a change of heart.
That's all right, councillor. Thank you.
I've got the glasses right here, my friend, but I forgot
Thank
to
you
put
for
them on.
clarifying, but I did read it out. Are you indicating that you don't listen when the chairperson reads? Councillor. But I say that in all good humour. Okay, Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If we go back to last year when we had the youths in the council chambers from the different schools around the area, they were all big on recycling. They were all big on, you know, looking after our environment. And I think because they are an external, we've got to take that, you know, they've actually led us into this path now. And I think we have to take it. We've sent surveys out, 8 years ago. We all filled out, well, not all of us, but we filled those surveys out, sent them back in. And I think the survey's been done. The community is ready for recycling. The children are ready for recycling. And we are only caretakers for them. They are our next generation. We need to look after this area for them. So I'm all for recycling. I'm all for, I just really don't think we need to go for a community consultation on this. We've all had letters from community members with regards to recycling, and they've told us just to go ahead. So, Mr Mayor, I really think that we should just go ahead with recycling and put it out to tender for recycling as well.
Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, I can agree with Councillor Shoemaker on this. I mean, in 2013, 8 years ago, I remember that survey very well, and there wouldn't be anyone sitting in this chamber or in our community that hasn't done something in the form of recycling. It is massive. Look what's happened with our recycling, with our bottles and our cans and glass and that aluminium. They're incredible what they do, and that, to me, from being probably old school years ago, and I made the comment in chambers some time ago that years ago on rural properties, they put them down the paddock. They put their rubbish down the paddock. That doesn't happen, I can assure you, too much anymore in the rural sector. And our waste facilities, our transfer stations are great. Myself, I did never think I'd be separating aluminium, glass and plastic, and I do. And I have done it for some time now, probably since it was first implemented, and the facility down at Cherbourg is absolutely fantastic, along with the one here in Kingaroy and in many other areas. So I just think this is a given. Our kids that came and did that presentation some 6-8 months ago, they are our future. That speaks for itself. So yeah, I'm with Councillor Shoemaker on this. This is just a given. I think we've got a lot of room to move in that, and the only way with waste is forward in that department with recycling. That's for sure. So yeah, with you all the way on that, Councillor Shoemaker. Thank you.
Councillor Duff.
Mr Mayor, I'm in favour of not extending the contract out till 23. I think just it's going to go till 22 as it is. I think that's enough time. I think we need to get the survey out. I won't support not going out to community. We went out to community before. It would be rude to just go out and do it without consulting. We're all about community and consulting. We actually, that was part of the charter of this new council, was to consult more, and I don't think you can over-consult, and so I'm very big on going out to the community, but also agree that I don't want to wait till 23. I think that the mood is now and the time is right, and we should hook in now, get the surveys out, try and get them in that rates if we can, in the August one, like you said you could, and go from there. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on this one. I'm going to move a motion that the committee, having listened to everyone around the table, that the committee recommends to council that council does not exercise option A option. So all you're going to do is just put the word "does not" in front of there. Thanks, Danelle. And then item 2, as is, but at the end to say with a view to implementation in July 2022. Do we have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Froloff. I'm going to speak to that. I agree completely with Councillor Shoemaker. The community has spoken. They want this. I'm talking to teenagers. I talk to young people, young families. I talk to pensioners. And they say, look, we don't want our rates to go up. Please get in there and fight the good fight. But I think they understand that there's a cost to pay when it comes to taking care of our future generations and our environment. And I think for the service that they'll receive, I will be surprised if there isn't widespread community support for this. I think the mood has changed. I think there's been a lot of public education over the last 5 years, particularly around the war on waste. And I think it's time that our council fell into line with it. I don't know too many councils, that don't have this now. And, you know, people at Beluga have a yellow lid, yet people in Kingaroy don't. So I'm complete with Councillor Shoemaker. I think it needs to happen quickly. I think the council has mucked around with this for far too long, and it's time to get in and get it done. But having said that, I would probably just like final confirmation from the community that yes, please confirm what we're hearing is that you do want this. And if that's what we've got to do to get that community consultation, I'm prepared to support that. So that's the basis of the motion. So any other speaker? Councillor Potter, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right, Mr Mayor. Look, that's fine, but as long as we can get that community out with the rates notice, because we've got the rates notices going out shortly. So
can we just
need to get it done as soon as possible.
Can we would you like to put that in there, Councillor Potter? We can actually have that. That's the survey, conduct a community survey of current properties receiving the general waste wheelie bin service in August, to be issued with the rates notice in August, to coincide with the August 2021 rates notice.
Yes, thank you. Yep.
Can we just insert those words in there, Linnell? To coincide with the August 2021. Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
I'm happy with that. You happy with that, Councillor Froloff? Yes. Yep, thank you. Okay, Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to ask the chamber, what is the question in which we're surveying the community on? Are we going to survey them on cost, or are we actually going to ask them the question, do you want recycling? Because I'm a little bit worried about how we muddy the water here. And to be honest, I've said it in this chamber and I'll say it again, and I won't support this motion because I don't support a survey. I absolutely believe that this is certainly, yes, there will be cost implications of this, but at whose cost and what do you measure as cost? Because for me, future generations will already bear the costs of our decisions that have led us to this point today. So I'm absolutely not supportive of a survey. I believe this council needs to make a stand. We've all signed up to making tough decisions, and I absolutely believe that this is the right thing to do. From the absolute bottom of my stomach, I believe this is the right thing to do. I'm not supportive of a community survey. I worry that will just cloud the water. And I do ask the question, what question is it that you're going to ask? Because we've all said here that we support recycling and we need recycling in our community, and we're all in agreement of that. So we're going to go back to having a debate and an argument over cost, because yes, there will be a cost, absolutely, but there will be a cost if we don't. And regardless of whatever responses those surveys return, I'm sorry, but on this one, I will not shift and I will not move. And by all means, I represent the views of my division, and the feelings of the people I represent are that recycling is the future. There has been a war on waste, and I absolutely believe this is the right thing to do. So I will not be supporting this recommendation, not because I don't agree with the not extending the waste collection services contract. I absolutely believe that we need to move now, we need to act now, but I do not agree with going to the community and asking this question. I think we need to make the decision. It should be part of our core values, should be part of our focus on sustainability and our next generation. So that's my view.
Thank you, Councillor. Now, Councillor Duff, you talked about the committee survey. Did you want to add a response? Because I'm keen to hear different views on this.
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely will not support going out doing recycling without having a community survey. We already went out to the community said no. Whether the questions were right or wrong, the community said no. They supported recycling, they didn't want to pay for it. It would be, as I said before, it would be rude to just go out and just introduce it on the back of that in particular. But the question would have to be put carefully. We could put, do you support recycling, and this is the cost? Just one question. That's what it's going to cost. So, but I just think we're about, like I said, we're about consultation, we're about making sure that we get it right, and about consultation, and particularly because we already went out there, I think we have a duty of care to the community to go back out and say, well, you know, perhaps there's been a change of heart, but yes, they should be able to declare their hand. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Councillor Duff. Anyone else got any views on this survey issue? GM O'May?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I thought we can circulate the given we're at the standing committee this afternoon and making a recommendation to council, we can circulate the survey that we did in 2014 around, because it asked a question about do you want recycling, and then it also had the option for the third bin. So it basically said your standard domestic charges, say $150. Do you want recycling? That'll cost you $200. Do you want a third bin for green waste? That'll cost you $250. So it had information about indicative costs, like obviously we hadn't been to tender, and then the question was, do you support recycling? Had options there for yes, but it's too expensive, and they could give that feedback. So we probably do need that direction on. Are we introducing a fortnightly yellow lid, but are we also do we want to look at the green lid at the time? So I can circulate that through council, so when we come back to council, you have a bit of an idea of what the survey might look like. Thanks,
GM. Yeah, I might just take over there. I'm not suggesting a green lid at this stage for our region. We're rural people. I think most of us take our green stuff to the dump ourselves. I'm quite happy to or use it for mulch or spread it on the garden or whatever. I think we've got to do this in stages rather than go for the three and muddy the water with that. I am reconsidering this motion though. I've listened to Councillor Shoemaker, Councillor Duff. I've heard a lot of people in the community through the election campaign say to me, you know, why don't you just get on and implement recycling? For goodness sake, why are we the only region that, I mean, I drive everywhere. I don't know another region that doesn't have yellow lids, to be quite honest. And I do worry that if we survey the people, we might only get the people that don't want it respond. That the people that do want it, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes surveys don't always give you a clear mood of the community. You can run a poll and you don't always get the mood of the community with these polls and surveys. I don't know. And I don't want to get a survey come back that says that, you know, we got 20% of people reply and 90% of them say they don't want it. Well, that's only 18% of the population. I am a bit concerned, Councillor Duff, about that. This is one of the things when I got into council I was determined to see happen, was recycling bins in our region, because I think if we're going to be a progressive council, we've got to pick this up and deal with it sometime, as Councillor Henson and Councillor Shoemaker have said. You know, I said in my budget speech a couple of weeks ago that, you know, we should be providing efficient government services. Governments would do well to seek examples of how to provide more and better services while reducing the cost to the taxpayer public. That's got two elements. It's not just about reducing cost. It's about providing more and better services alongside that. And I believe that we can, in many instances, do both. But in this case, gee, if it's $90 or $100 a year, I don't think that's a large price to pay. And as you know, I'll always stick up for the pensioner and try and reduce their, I absolutely will try and keep their costs down. But at some point, someone's going to have to pay here. And, I am quite concerned that we've dragged the chain on this for too long. So, look, let's discuss it more before we wrap it up, but I'll leave it. Councillor Jones, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'd like to move a procedural motion, Mr Mayor, that this be left on the table until the next Community Standing Committee so that we can discuss that. Listening to all the comments, I don't think that any of us haven't got the same goal in mind, what we're trying to achieve, how we get there, what we do, all this sort of stuff. I just think there's so much discussion going around here. I can't vote. I would support this with the community and all that. And I totally understand your comments. I totally understand Councillor Shoemaker, Councillor Hanson, all that. We've done it before. I just think this is a very, very important topic. Councillor Shoemaker, you can see, is very passionate about it. And I don't think there's anyone in this room that doesn't want to get an outcome that's beneficial to this council and our ratepayers in regards to waste and waste management. So I would like to move a procedural motion that this lay on the table until the August Standing Committee.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Okay, Councillor Froelich has seconded. Okay, being a procedural motion, we'll go straight to the vote. Those in favour? Okay, those against? Okay, the procedural motion has been carried for 5 votes to 2 with Councillor Shoemaker and Councillor Otto voting against. So the matter will now lay on the table until the August Standing Committee meeting where it will be further discussed. Okay, very good discussion. Thank you all. Now let's move on to the next item being 9.1, and that's the Rural Resilience, Parks and Gardens, Property and Facility Management and Indigenous Affairs Portfolio Report. And it's now my pleasure to invite Councillor Duff to deliver such. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So in Rural Resilience, Mayor Otto, Councillor Shoemaker and I met with Minister Coleman in Canberra to advocate for some more support for mental health and suicide problems in our region. Minister Coleman is the Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister and also the Minister for Mental Health and Suicide Prevention. We also caught up with the Honourable David Littleproud. Minister Coleman was very supportive and was keen to help us acquire a headspace and a head to health centre. He also said that these facilities could take a while, but in the short term, we should put forward a suggested model for workers on the ground to support our farmers and others at risk that could be funded through the Public Health Network, primarily PHN. I have spoken to our 2 other federal members, Lou O'Brien and Ken O'Dowd, and they are both keen to help and provide letters of support. This Thursday, there's a special project being run by the Australian Meat and Livestock Corporation at the Coolangatta Sale Yards to ascertain the social value of sale yards. There will be interviews with farmers and other key stakeholders as part of a study on the value of sale yards for mental health and wellbeing of farmers. In Parks and Gardens, Council's Parks and Gardens crews have started their winter maintenance programs across the region, which includes tree pruning, maintenance on structures, replanting and mulching gardens. Council staff are also continuing to manage vandalism across the region, with an increase in Nanango and Kingaroy over the last few weeks. This activity has resulted in more major amenity blocks now being added, Apex Park, Kingaroy and Pioneer Park in Nanango, to the growing list of facilities being closed to the public from 6 p.m. and reopening at 6 a.m. daily to help reduce this activity. Council encourages the community to report any suspicious behaviour to the police. Aerodromes. The regular inspections are continuing at both Kingaroy and Wandai aerodromes. Council officers are working with QFES to undertake a training exercise to reduce the fuel load and wildlife habitat. This exercise is planned for the first couple of weeks in July, dependent on weather conditions. And Council received an email from RFDS Queensland regarding a near miss with 3 kangaroos in the runway environment at Kingaroy. They acknowledge the current NOTAM C14/21 as being active. Up until now, this has mostly been a problem in the early hours of the evening. The SBRC are concerned having wildlife present during daylight hours, which raises the risk of damage to the aircraft and possible interruptions to the aeromedical service for residents of the Kingaroy and Nanango region. Council's ARO is working with RFDS 24/7 until there can be a permanent resolution to the problem of wildlife within the aerodrome environment. At the terminal buildings for both Kingaroy and Wandai, Stay Safe Check-in Queensland apps and QR codes have been installed. These are also available at the security gates for all guests, visitors to register their visit, which complies with the state government COVID requirements for these facilities. Garden tidy-ups are being undertaken in Mergen and Wandai, and general tidy-up has been undertaken in Proston, with ongoing soil top-ups in all lawn cemeteries. Dams. Madooma and Bjelke-Petersen dams are looking a picture, which is a credit to both council staff and managers working together to keep on top of the mowing and general maintenance. Council and managers have received some customer concerns with the erosion/washouts that need some attention in the near future. The contractors/conference room is now completed and ready for use. This facility is an asset to the existing accommodation available at Bjelke-Petersen Dam. The new amenities building has been completed, final commissioning to be undertaken in the coming weeks. Both dams have installed the Stay Safe Check-in Queensland app QR code available for all guests visitors to register their visit, which complies with the state government COVID requirements for these facilities. Rail Trail. Ongoing maintenance and inspections are continuing along the trail. It is great to see the number of events taking place along the trail, with the Wandai Running Festival being the latest success story using this great asset. Just a reminder that if a community group seek to hold an event along the Rail Trail, council should be contacted to obtain approval. Property and Facility Management Council has advertised the tender of Nanango, Proston and Wandai cattle dip yards and land on the 2nd of July, and tenders close on the 7th of August 2021. Advertising has also been included in the Queensland Country Life. An information letter has been sent to livestock agents and transport carriers. Council has also advertised the tender for Kingaroy Aerodrome Master Plan on the 7th of July, and tenders close on the 6th of August 2021. Information letters have been sent to all lessees of Kingaroy Aerodrome. Council officers have identified a large leak in a water pipeline on the pool side of the water meter at the Kingaroy swimming pool complex. This leak was reporting a loss of 25,000 litres per 24-hour period. While a significant leak in the supply line has been repaired, further water loss has been recorded. Council has engaged a firm called Australian Leak Detection to be on site on the 12th of July for site assessment and leak detection. Council has engaged ONF surveyors to survey Memorial Park and Kingaroy Memorial Swimming Pool to identify all underground services, drainage and landmarks. This survey will assist in the development of Memorial Park and Kingaroy Swimming Pool master plans. And finally, in Indigenous Affairs, yesterday we held our Council NAIDOC celebration with the Star of Taroom being a feature attraction. Thank you to everyone who assisted with this event. The NAIDOC theme this year is Heal Country. Councillor Bronwyn Murray from Cherbourg Aboriginal Shire Council and I have started meeting monthly with General Manager O'May to progress our Reconciliation Action Plan, and we're considering other members to include on the committee as we move forward. And just wanted to let you know that Mayor Otto and I walked 11 kilometres with the Star of Taroom yesterday. I was very proud of myself. I didn't think I would do 11 kilometres without getting sore, and I also actually pulled the rock for about a kilometre. So yeah, it was a fantastic experience to be part of that. And they're actually in Wandai this afternoon between 2 and 4, and they're going out to Cherbourg, I believe, tomorrow, and then heading to Coes Park on Friday morning. They'll be there about 9 o'clock to have a small event at Coes Park, and then they're heading, northwest. So yeah, that concludes my report, and I'd like to move my report be adopted. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Duff. Do we have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Henson. Okay, questions, comments? Councillor Potter.
Thank you. A couple of things. So first of all, the fencing at the Kingaroy Airport, I know we had that down on our to-do list. So I'm just wondering when the fencing for the Kingaroy Airport will be done, because it's quite a concern to me, because I think I'm on the impression, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Royal Flying Doctor Service can say that they can actually refuse to land at a particular airport if there is too many wildlife, because they do not want to endanger their staff or planes. So that's of a concern. And I'm also looking forward to the Australian League report on the Kingaroy Pool, because the Kingaroy Pool, we've had problems with the pool. I can't remember when we haven't had problems with Kingaroy Pool, to be quite honest. So there's always been problems with leaks at Kingaroy Pool. So it'd be really good to get that leak report from them, which was done on Monday. So the sooner that can come to us so we can actually have a look through that report, the better. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had circulated just some information toward the middle end of last year, just around the Safer Communities Fund, which was currently open round 6 until the 22nd of July. And I just wondered through GMO May if there's been any discussion about potential projects for that fund and applications considered, noting that the closing date's very soon.
Yep. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so we might kick off, or just on the Safer Communities, I can do that, and I might hand over to Mark to talk about the fencing. He was talking to RFDS yesterday, but yeah, Safer Communities, so yeah, the Properties Department are actually putting an application together. So we've got trying to get some assistance to get an application into the Safer Communities. So looking at fencing projects over in Mergen, looking at lighting projects in Kingaroy along the BP recreation trail. So yeah, we're just actually scoping out projects at the moment, and I think, Leanne, you're looking for $500,000 or more, I think, aren't you?
Is just on Councillor Shoemaker's, sorry, Councillor, I hope I'm not going to steal your thunder here, but what about that rail trail Mears Road thing that we talked about, that issue out there? Is that something that could be picked up here as well? With some lighting or some CCTV as part of that?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Shoemaker, I'll hand, yeah.
Yeah, I might just talk about the guidelines, because there's many CCTV and fencing and other projects that we would love to put up, but the guidelines are quite specific. It is around racial or religious crime, and you have to have statistics to base your argument of exactly what sort of crime has been occurring in that space. So it's not just specifically related to drug or other sorts of crime that may be occurring. It's very specific in the type of crime that you're targeting. So we're trying to identify projects, we're trying to identify the types of crime and the statistics that back up in those places to ensure that our application is of high regard and it meets the criteria.
Yeah, back to you. Thanks, Councillor Shoemaker.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the work that's been done. I think any funding opportunity like this, we've got to take full advantage of them. So thank you, and I appreciate if you need any help with those crime statistics, happy to work with the local police and see what we can do there. In terms of, I have looked at the guidelines and some of the opportunities there, and I am really passionate about intervention programs and supports for youth who are at risk. And I understand certainly there's only a matter of days between now and the 22nd of July, so now would be too soon. But I would like to work with the team, and certainly Councillor Potter and I have been and visited the Kingaroy Youth Park. Nothing has really been done at that facility for quite some time, and there is also a giant challenge that we face in terms of the youth park once had youth workers who were employed for some of those programs and activities that meant during school holidays, youth may have a worker that they could just go and play a game of football with, or there'd be a simple event like Battle of the Bands or something like this. And at the moment, over time and years, that funding has been pulled away for various reasons, and now unfortunately a lot of the youth workers are working in crisis management situations or homelessness situations. So Councillor Potter and I met with CEO from South Burnett CTC, Nina Temperton, and Kirsten Furman, who manages the youth park there. And we would really like to work with the council team to look at how we might be able to partner, or what kind of collaboration we might be able to strike up a deal to look at this next round of funding and put some focused resources and efforts into our youth park, because I'm very mindful there are significant challenges that we face, particularly when it comes to youth engaging in risky and inappropriate behaviours, and largely I think a lot of that is because they're bored. And looking around the youth park, I think there's great potential there. There were actually people using the skate park and the BMX facilities, but it really hasn't had, and I mean this with the utmost respect because I know the challenges, but it really hasn't had a lot of love for a very long time. So I'd like to look at the bigger picture, the holistic strategy here. How do we support youth in our region? I know, Councillor Duff, you've done some work in Mergen in that space with your bike nights and things like that, and you're lucky to have a PCYC facility. Here in Kingaroy, we certainly don't have that kind of facility, but, you know, I also note that there are over 1,500 children, young students attending the Kingaroy State High School. So there's definitely a need here, and I guess I just wanted to start that conversation with you. Happy to take that offline, but really keen to work with the team to share some ideas and see what we might be able to do when these next funding opportunities come up, so we're prepared. Welcome your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think there's two components to this grant, and I suppose our focus has really been on the infrastructure. So it's really been about fencing, CCTV, extra crim safe on some of our facilities and those sorts of things, extra lighting, and working with a few of the community groups. We're aware that their facilities have been targeted recently here in Kingaroy and Mergen. So we're sort of working with the Go Getter Girls, Kingaroy Netball. We've got a meeting with PCYC tomorrow to have some conversations, but there is another component to that grant. We probably just need to dig it out and have a look to see whether or not it supports some of the other things that, which is around that crime prevention and support, youth support. It'd be interesting to see if that could fall into there. So we'll have a look at that and get back in touch with yourself and Councillor Potter.
Yeah, maybe if there's an opportunity for a bit of a roundtable conversation to share some ideas. I know we may not be ready for this round, but I just, you know, blue sky thinking, maybe this council, imagine if we could get some funding to support a youth worker of our own or something that could use our facilities and engage youth in school holiday activities. I don't know, I don't have all the answers or solutions, but I certainly do know, as the mother of a 12-year-old son, see this firsthand. It is a challenge for our community, and I do think we could do something with this funding. Thank you.
I just want to pick up on Councillor Shoemaker's point. Councillor Duff and I yesterday were fortunate to be approached by a group of young people, probably early 20s, who've come to Kingaroy and are trying to work with our youth in identifying exactly the issues that Councillor Shoemaker's raising, that we have youth who are disenfranchised, who are perhaps lacking a sense of purpose or just enough to be able to keep them occupied in our region. And, you know, I'm driving to work this morning, the entire Fisher Street was trashed last night with graffiti, including cars, fences, all of our signage. I would be betting that perhaps there was some youth, some disenfranchised youth involved in that, who perhaps got a little bit bored and whatever else, I don't know, but these issues are certainly emerging for us as a problem in our community here in Kingaroy. I think I would really support Councillor Shoemaker in wanting to get some more work done in this space. Appreciate anything that you can do there, Leanne, and working with Councillor Shoemaker, and I'd like to see this in our operational plan and in terms of our part of our youth development strategy and our livability strategy, because it's certainly having an impact on the lifestyle of everybody here in Kingaroy as an emerging issue. Yeah. And if I could just add, right across the region. Yeah. The other one, can I just ask also, we did have some community members come forward about the issue around Myers Road intersection with the rail trail. I know there's been more cases that have come to my attention since then. Are we doing any work in relation to providing some sort of lighting, security, something there to try and get some sort of a solution to that for those good people living out there?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor. So since our community day workshop, myself and Kevin and John Ogilvie have been to site to look at the infrastructure side of it. The area on the rail trail there is quite open. I think there's some issues with the road. The biggest one there there's probably two issues I see there. Is probably an issue for Peter and his team. I think after that we're going to go back and look at an option to put some sort of camera there, but that was to be after we met with QPS in relation to trying to come that up. My understanding, Mayor, is that meeting with QPS has just been delayed, was the latest I've heard, but from an infrastructure point of view, I think it's probably a really good one for us to talk to. I think this is a very cumulative problem. We can limit the vehicles accessing the rail trail itself, but there are the actual issue with how do I say, the undesirable uses or undesirable activities that are occurring in that area. I think it's very much a one for us to work cumulatively with QPS to resolve.
Thank you, General Manager. I know the new District Inspector is on board now, in an acting capacity at least, so I'm sure that he'd be open to hear some of the stories and work together with Dave Teeney on some solutions around that. Yeah, we'll just note that Councillor Potter has to leave the meeting, then if we can, and I think you'll be back, Councillor Potter, at some stage. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Was there any further commentary, questions in relation to the report? Councillor Shoemaker?
I probably just wanted to make the note that there are, whilst I recognise this is my comments around youth, there are some great youth in our region doing some wonderful things. And I guess what I would like to see is that we bring all youth together, regardless of your circumstances. Like, certainly I was 16 when I moved out of home, so I certainly appreciate the challenges that are faced by young people today. I just think we need to bring everybody into the tent. It's not just about people who are at risk or engaging in risky behaviours. It's also about those great young people in our region, and I think by working together, sometimes those relationships can form really, can give a person a real sense of belonging and really inform their choices going forward. So I think this is about all youth, regardless of the challenges that our region face. I think we need to provide a place that is a safe and encouraging environment for our young people to grow up, and a place where they can actually see a future here in the South Burnett. So very passionate about that and appreciate the Council's support.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we might put this one to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, the next one is the Parks and Gardens update.
Mr Mayor, I just want to move a resolution.
Move a motion?
Motion,
off the floor?
yeah.
Okay,
off the floor,
yes.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
I've given it to Linnell, that this committee recommends to Council that Council send a submission to the Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister for Mental Health and Suicide Prevention, Minister David Coleman, seeking funding from the Federal Government for the following services for our region: a headspace facility and program addressing youth mental health, a head to health facility and program addressing adult mental health, funding for 2 teams of 3 mental health support staff for the delivery of field-based services. And should the request be approved, our contribution would be to provide suitable mental health facilities to support the staff and delivery of the programs. So I'd just like to move that one. Thank you.
So we'll take that as moved. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. Okay, go ahead. Would you like to speak further to the motion, Councillor?
Thank you. Yes, Mr Mayor, I wanted to just say that I have Councillor Potter was waiting back. She was hoping that we would speed it up because she wanted to offer her full support to this. And yeah, this is what we talked about to the Minister. He was very supportive. They said to get this in because there's federal government funding for this particular issue of mental health and particularly suicide, and there's millions of dollars, so we wanted to jump in and get it happening. So I just wanted to put this to the committee to see if we could work to get this submission progressed. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Any other speakers in relation to this? No? Okay, no brainer. Okay, we'll go to the vote then. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, Parks and Gardens update, page 61. Recommendation is that it be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, thanks. Second, Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. Any questions, comments? No? Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Properties operational update at 66. We have that there. Thank you very much, Leanne, for that. Recommendation is that it be received for information. Do we have a mover? It's Councillor Jones, second to Councillor Duff. Questions? No? Nothing there? Okay. Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Master plan for parks at 72. Have a look at that one. We've got report there, and of course the recommendation is that the report regarding the master plan for parks be received and noted. But do we want to have a discussion on that? Anyone got questions or any conversation? Councillor Duff, you've got your light on.
So I wanted to move a motion. Is that okay now, or do we want to vote on
Yeah,
that
you
one
can move a
first?
motion off the floor if you'd like.
Okay, so I'd like to move that this committee recommends to council that the Parks and Gardens acting manager works with the portfolio holder to bring to the August meeting of the Executive Finance and Corporate Committee guidelines and options for a Parks and Gardens Master Plan Advisory Committee.
Okay, councillor, thank you. We've got a seconder for that? Thanks, councillor Froloff. Councillors, questions? Speakers for or against? Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, thank you. I'm absolutely in support of this. I think master plan, we've spoken about the fact that, and you can see through our funding cycles, we've brought different styled furniture and different style playground equipment, and we've got different coloured shade sails, and there's really no real theme or ethos to our parks, and I mean that with the utmost respect. And I do see this as a giant opportunity, particularly on the back of the learnings of Butter Factory Park, and I know the Pioneer Park in Nanango, they're looking exceptional. I think it really demonstrates that council has raised the bar in that regard. I probably just had a question for you in terms of the advisory committee. Do you see members of the community and councillors sitting on that, or how do you see that working? Because certainly some of these parks, particularly the ones around Kingaroy, I am certainly interested in providing feedback. So just want to understand how you actually see this working.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we did start out earlier with a group. We actually had some community people getting involved, people who are interested in our parks, people who are interested in different trees. We had a lot of interest about even the trees on the KTP. We had some of the like Angela Griffith and different ones came, and we were trying to get together a group. And I know, so the idea would be to have councillors on it and also community. And I'd like to think, and I know the Mayor was keen on this right from the word go, was to get community involved in a lot of this decision making. And we've got horticulturists and all sorts of talent out there, but we don't make much use of it. And I know that there's a lot of community members that would like to have input into what type of trees we plant, what type of flowers, and whether it's perennials or annuals in our gardens, and try and get some themes happening right across our region. So I'd see it as a councillors and community working together, and I'd be keen to work with you if you've got ideas about that, the makeup of that committee, but certainly about bringing the community on board with us and getting some of the talent that we've got in our community to work with us to get good outcomes.
Yes, councillor Shoemaker, continue.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I'm absolutely supportive of this. I think sometimes thinking outside the box and bringing different people to the table really does offer enormous value and benefit to council. And I just on the weekend happened to be at Milana Gardens, had a look around. What Lindsay Kath has done out there is absolutely exceptional. And just the transformation, I haven't been out there for a while because of various things, and just the transformation in such a short period of time, and really quite low cost and effective solutions. So I think there is enormous opportunity for us in this space to think a little bit differently about our spaces. And I guess at the end of the day, I would love to see nothing more, and I know the Mayor has spoken about it before, in Toowoomba, where the local Rose Club take care of all the roses in some of their premier parks and sell them on Valentine's Day for fundraisers and these sorts of things. I'd definitely like to see that kind of interaction, particularly noting that we have 40% of our community is elderly and looking for active volunteering opportunities in our community that bring purpose to their lives. So I'm absolutely supportive of this, absolutely supportive of thinking a little bit beyond the infrastructure and really being quite open to opening our minds to new ways of doing things. So thank you for bringing it forward.
Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Just to probably endorse again the comments that have been made. It says quite clearly there on Action CW6 in regards to that, down the middle there, it says develop a simple process, online and hard copy form, to seek community feedback on existing master concept plans, collate community feedback. So that was referred to in the Sport and Rec plan. That's already there. They've worked along those, the staff have worked along those processes. What I see is a significant benefit of this is the fact that when we have a master plan, it will certainly help us with costings and how we develop and what we need to do budgetary wise and all that. So if we've got master plans across the region consistent with everything that we do and they all match up and all line up, that's a significant bonus for me as far as the big significant thing out of this is that when we come to costing things up, we've already got the master plan, we know what we want in there and all that sort of stuff. But obviously, just a quick query, and I know the answer probably before I ask it, this will be for all parks right across all regions, right through every town. That it's just, I know that there's just some of them there, but it will be the South Burnett region.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, progressively, Councillor, because you couldn't do them all in the one go, but it's starting the journey, if you like, to master planning and prioritising. And like Councillor Shoemaker says, it's trying to get that look and feel that's consistent within the region. So once you start with one, you virtually create that, and then you start to roll it out to the other parks, and you do that on a priority basis.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Acting Manager. Yeah, and I think just listening to Councillor Shoemaker, keen to see that the terms of reference for this advisory committee are broad enough that they incorporate not just the vegetation as such, but also the infrastructure. Councillor Shoemaker shared some vision, some images of infrastructure where we had timber playgrounds and things for children that would engage in them actively. I'm keen to see a much more of that open-minded thinking, lateral thinking about how we actually do our parks and gardens, rather than just necessarily the traditional steel and plastic and structures. So if we can take a really broad view at the terms of reference for that, and perhaps we need to look at who gets involved in that. We need people who are involved in planning playground facilities, for example, not just horticulturists. So, and I guess this would give us the opportunity. I'd certainly be prepared to support this because it gives us the opportunity at that August committee meeting to then work through that and discuss, what do we want the terms of reference, who do we want on the committee, how should that be set up. So, okay, anyone else wanted to add to that before we go to the vote? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, so back to the original master plan for parks, and thanks very much, General Manager and Manager, for bringing that forward and for the work that's been done so far. So the recommendation is that be received, I think. No, we just voted on Councillor Duff's resolution. So I'll move that be received. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, the next one is the BP Dam Contractor Conference Centre Fees and Charges, page 74. We've got that there in front of us. Did you want to lead us into that, General Manager and Manager?
Yeah, so through you, Mr Mayor, so this is just establishing a fee for the use of these new units that have been developed. So this was what we're calling the contractor accommodation. We've got a lot of contractors in the region just seeking that basic accommodation of a bed for the week. So the team have been talking with the dam managers and the contractors that are currently out there and have come up with what they determined that $60 a night was an appropriate fee for this accommodation. So it is individual rooms and communal facilities. And so, yeah, just a recommendation so we can get a fee and charge into our...
Thanks, General Manager. Councillors, what are your thoughts? $60 per night, on-peak and peak for those rooms. Any questions on that? Anyone reasonably comfortable? Okay, so the Councillor Shoemaker, yes?
Just confirming, so you've had obviously a number of conversations, GM Omay, with the dam contractors as well, and they have recommended, they've sort of sounded out the market and recommended this fee. I just want to confirm that.
Yeah, so that's our understanding. The current dam managers have been talking to the contractors that are staying out there now, and both have come up with it's a good balance between a return on investment plus for the contractors, doesn't price them out of the market.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay, so we've got the recommendation there as presented. Do we have a mover? Yep, Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. Second to Councillor Duff. Okay, go to the vote. Councillor Duff, you want to speak to it? Thank you.
I just wanted to say that to thank the staff for what they've done. I've been sort of very pushy with that rec room, and I was for a long time wanting to let the fish stocking group have it, and just why do we just leave it there, and why it's just falling down, and anyway, so they defied me and worked and but finally they've actually done something really great, and that is they've got 2 rooms there for the fish stocking group, and they've also got this turned the whole front part into this accommodation and a little lounge, and so even for the BP Dam fish stocking group, when they run their event, they could book that all out, and they'd have their accommodation there as well. They could stay there while they run their event. So it's just fantastic. So good job, everybody, and apologise for me for being such a so hard to deal with over the last period with that particular room. So thank you.
Did we get at the minutes, Linnell? I hope that's recorded. General Manager and Manager, isn't that a great result? If that gets 40 weeks a year, we raise $90,000 gross revenue, but of course we provide a solution for all of those contractors and people wanting conferences. So, I'm sure we all feel the same. Please pass on our thanks to your staff and to the contractor and to the facility operators out there. It's a great outcome. Okay, so let's put that to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. $60 per night it is. Okay, the next one is the Boondooma Dam name change at page 76, and the recommendation is, as shown there, change from Lake Boondooma Caravan and Recreation Park to Boondooma Dam Caravan and Recreation Park. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, second to Councillor Shoemaker. Questions, speakers? Okay, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you all. Licence to occupy for the Kingaroy Junior Cricket at 77. And so the recommendation is there that the committee recommend to council the South Bennett Regional Council enter a licence to occupy with the Kingaroy Junior Cricket Association for Part A of Lot 89, RP 66068, with conditions including a term of 3 years at $75 per annum plus GST, and they maintain public liability insurance to the value of $20 million for the period of the licence. Do we have a mover? Councillor Jones, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Shoemaker. Speakers for or against? Those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you all. 9.8, licence to occupy for the South Bennett Woodcrafters at 85. And the recommendation is quite simple, that the committee recommends to council that council enter a licence to occupy with South Bennett Woodcrafters for use of part of Lot 6 FY1221 and Lot 4 RP 103849 with an expiry of 31 January 2022. Do we have a mover? Mover that, Councillor Shoemaker. Second to Councillor Frolov. Speakers for or against? Questions on this one? Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know the club have been working hard on their new facilities for some time, and we've also had a number of conversations about the Kingaroy Arts and Cultural Museum precinct. So I guess I just probably wanted a bit of an update from Manager Leanne as to more information about the current situation here, if that's okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to let you know that we have been working with all of the groups up there, and I know this is prime real estate and there's a lot of groups that would like to actually utilise this space, but it is currently still occupied by the South Bennett Woodcrafters. They've still got a lot of equipment stored in this part of the museum or their workshop, and until they finalise all their works that they've got on their books at the moment down at their current, which is down at the freight distribution shed, or what was the old freight distribution shed there in King Street. Their premises is not 100% secure to actually move that valuable equipment down, so they're reluctant to do that until they finish those works. They have received recently some additional funding, so they've made a commitment that they really want to progress that. It is made up of a lot of volunteers and a lot of volunteers' time to actually do that work. So they're sort of asking us for that further 6 months of time up at the current workshop area up at the museum there, and they're anticipating that they would have that works done and moved out by the 31st of January 2022. So just wanted to bring it back into here to formalise it and make council aware that, yep, I know it's been a long process and we continue to give extensions, but they are on track and there's evidence and there's funding that they've secured that's demonstrating that they will meet this timeframe.
Yeah, thank you. Certainly, I very much value and appreciate the work you do, Manager Leanne, you and your team in navigating some of these tricky sorts of arrangements. I recognise volunteers are really dedicated community members, often running businesses and things themselves, and don't always get the time that they'd like to invest. So I think the outcome of moving that facility to King Street is really exciting, and certainly the work that's been done there is amazing. But I certainly appreciate they may need a little bit more time to get there. So yeah, fully supportive of this. Thanks for bringing it forward. Thank you for all your delicate navigating of this issue. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no more speakers, we'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, now the next one is, we've got questions on notice responses here. First one is the Wanarkin Black Butt signage.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I just had a notice of a motion that I'd like to move off the floor before we go to questions on notice. I've just sent it to Leanne. Oh, sorry, to Linnell. So I'd like to move that the video footage from South Burnett Regional Council Committee, Budget Committee meetings from the 27th of April 21 to the 14th of July 2021 be uploaded to Council's website and made available to the public for viewing as per the standard practice for all Council Standing Committee and General Council meetings. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Schumacher. I 100% support getting that up on the website as part of our community, open, transparent council. The only concern I've got is that I don't get slapped on the wrist here by our CEO that the motion might just be seen to be outside the business of as defined in the terms of reference for this particular committee. So I'm concerned that we may be breaching policy based on the nature of the motion. Perhaps if it was in a executive finance and corporate, it would be more appropriate within that terms of reference. But having said that, Madam Acting CEO, can we just make this, happen? I mean, if there's a will of council to get these up on the website, can we do that now? Yeah.
I believe so, there, Mr. Mayor, and I stand corrected, but Councillor Shoemaker does have the ability to move a motion from the floor.
Oh, yes, she does, but I think it might just breach 3.33 in that it says that the must be in accordance with the adopted terms of reference for the committee. And when I looked at the committee meeting, terms of reference, it says it doesn't include these sorts of matters. It's specifically to community matters. But if you're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it. Is the council committee comfortable with putting this through? You're happy with it? Okay. Well, I'll be guided by the committee. Okay. So we've got you're comfortable. Yep. Okay. Well, let's proceed then. I'm happy to proceed then. So, General Manager O'May.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, probably just administrative that it should be that the committee recommend. Is it? Yep. Is that? Well, that's it. We'll just through you, Mr. Mayor. Is that what
council
the
meeting?
committee
Okay, well that's
recommend
fine.
And then
But the committee recommends. Yep, no, that's fine. Okay. We can refer it to council. Yeah, but having said that, I'd like to think that we could probably put them up anyway, can we? But anyway, we'll see how you go. Okay, so that's moved. I'm happy to second that one. Actually, I don't often second, so that's a novelty for me. Anyone wish to speak for or against? It's pretty clear, isn't it? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Okay, now let's move on to the questions on notice. 10.1. So yeah, the Banark and Blackbutt signage, there's been a bit of confusion around this. Councillor Jones is aware of it. Councillor Jones, are you across this one? Did you want to give us a bit of a run through on this? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. The sign that we initially had penned for the rail, yeah. Anyway, the sign that was on top of near Banark and Turnoff that we had identified for this skin to go on, apparently belongs to Somerset. Now, in all the years that I've been alive, and all the people down there that I have spoken to would argue with you that it's in Somerset. They would say it's in the South Burnett and all the rest of it, but apparently the boundary comes up the old coach road and all that sort of stuff and cuts across just near the entry point into Banark. And so we've had to realign our thoughts, and myself and acting manager Mark here have got to go down and try and identify another position that's suitable so that we get that real impact, because the sign, when I done the consultation with the upgrades to the main street, that was also a part of what we done down there with the community. We went down there, we got the, every time that someone come in, we asked the community, and we had 2 or 3 options, and thankfully it was a resounding 98.99%. Everyone agreed on the one sign where it says, welcome to Banark and Blackbutt. That's correct, yeah, welcome to Banark and Blackbutt, southern gateway to the South Burnett, home of champions. So, yeah, so that's where it's been. So that's where we're at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Jones. Any other comment on that? I just want to say congratulations and thanks to Councillor Jones for the work he's done getting that good outcome. We're all very excited about getting that new sign up for Blackbutt and Banark on that old Heritage Trail sign. But anyway, we were both shocked to find out it wasn't inside our region. But I personally really like this one. I think welcome to Banark and Blackbutt, the southern gateway to the South Burnett, home of champions. Keen to hear what others think, but well done, Councillor Jones. I think that's brilliant, and obviously that's come from the people in that community. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Shoemaker.
I absolutely agree. I love the sign, and it is home of the champions, many champions. I noted here we have talked about acknowledging our traditional owners on signage like this, and before the skin was printed, if it hasn't been printed already, I would have really liked to have seen, you know, acknowledgement of Waka Waka country on the signage somewhere. That's my only feedback with this. Thank you.
Is that something we can consider on the back of the sign, Councillor Jones, later on? Because I know James Darcy was doing some work on our other signs in this space. Aaron, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, if council wanted to, they could add that to our project to come up with the same skin. So ours is like a vinyl style one that gets attached there, but obviously they've got to do that body of work to just determine what that message is in the once we got through budget. I think that was one of our next projects to go and try and regroup that. So the only thing is, what I would just suggest to council to get through that is just how that sign is constructed on poles. Just deal with Aaron and we can work at that to make sure we can just get something attached to it. So
yeah, thanks, GM. Obviously, you'll move that forward with particular sensitivity with our broader Indigenous community involving the councillors. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Jones, thank you.
Yeah, just in response to that, Mr. Mayor, we're having discussions around there now of in regards to acknowledging the Waka Waka people in the upgrade to Blackbutt. We're looking at a possible making a real feature out of the town clock and using Waka Waka art. And some of you people in the chamber, Rocco Langton from Cherbourg is an exceptional artist. I've been speaking with James and Aaron and the staff in regards to that. So that's that's the recognition that we're going to make. That was one comment that did come up in regards to the upgrade to Blackbutt, was where the recognition of traditional owners were, and we hadn't highlighted it on the plan, but it was always in the back of our minds to do that, and it brought it to the attention. So in regards to that sign, yes, we can certainly work on it, but there will be significant recognition to the Waka Waka in the Blackbutt upgrade. And I'm also trying to source funding and whatever else I've been given pre-approval from the owners of the Blackbutt hardware that have a significant amount of wall space facing Lesmuller Park, and we want to put murals along that whole wall there and telling the story of Blackbutt and the connection to the Waka Waka people and the timber industry and the train lines and all that sort of stuff. So that's part 2 and 3 and all the rest of it of the upgrade. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Jones, and of course, General Manager, in overseeing that. If we could, again, just reiterate the importance of working broadly with all of our First Nations people who may have connection to that land would be appreciated. Thank you. Okay, well, so where are we at? We've got that received. We just need to receive that. We have a mover that the response be received. Councillor Jones, seconder. Thanks, Councillor Henson. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. The next one's the rail trail maintenance question. I think Councillor Potter would put that one forward. We've got a response there. Welcome back, Councillor Potter. In relation to the cost of the maintenance and upkeep on the rail trail, the condition of the sealed section, the information's there. Any discussion on that? Questions? Is everyone happy with the response? Councillor Potter, you're comfortable with that? You're happy to move that be accepted? Received and noted. Thank you. Seconder. Thanks, Councillor Duff. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.3, the Wondai Gardens and scheduling priorities. That's page 90. Question there from Councillor Shoemaker in relation to that. Responses. Councillor Shoemaker, you're comfortable with the response on that one?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was just reviewing it now. If the team would like to give an update, that would be great.
I guess the only point I would make is that the Winter Works program, we haven't finalised or formalised that because it's the first time we've got a really detailed Winter Works program collated. So if I had that, I would have presented it to you to have a look at. It's not a strategic document that would be adopted by council. It's really just a working plan for us, but it gives you an indication of what activities we do during the winter program. But also, as we progress in this space, things come to light. For example, in Wondai, that goes to support the information provided, we have identified gardens that are more permanent gardens and those that are more perennial. So if you had that, and I could certainly circulate that, it would give you an indication of the way we, constitute those gardens in those towns, so that there's more perennial gardens that look nice all the way through the year, but we have elements of the annuals, I guess, surrounding key gardens that have been identified. So there's a bit of a mixture there, but less watering and less maintenance, generally speaking. So if you had that information, it might, enlighten you as to how we approach these things. And a lot of that hasn't been documented in the past. It's just been done, by virtue of just the people on the ground at the time. But we're trying to be more strategic in that space.
Yes, thank you. I absolutely would like to see some more of that sort of information. I know it's been raised through the KTP project, are we planning too many garden beds, et cetera, why garden beds? And I know, areas like Wondai, and I know we've come a long way in the last 6 months, but, there are garden beds. I saw in Mergen we've replanted some garden beds. It's great to see that. But I guess really want to have a look at those maintenance, what maintenance we are doing in towns, and what garden beds do we prioritise over others. And similar to the questions that have been raised around the Kingaroy Transformation Project, are they necessary gardens? Are we able to maintain them with ease? I know here in Kingaroy down Haley Street, the centre medians, you have to close off 2 lanes of traffic. It takes half a day for the crew to work on that. Is that efficient? Are there better options? Should we be putting some of those projects into our forward capital works for consideration for for design and budget consideration. So I guess the intent of my question was really around trying to understand. It was great to hear that there'd been more gardens replanted, and certainly they were well and truly long overdue. So it's fabulous to see that outcome, and they look beautiful through the community. But I guess I'm trying to understand, following some of the questions Councillor Duff's asked around the importance of garden beds in Kingaroy, just trying to understand some of that older infrastructure in our other towns and whether it's whether it is necessary and whether we should be looking at other options. I know Councillor Duff suggested cement and those sorts of things. So I guess that's what my intention was. So I'd certainly appreciate more information on that. I value that there's a lot of work happening in that space, and I would really like to better understand the service level and how we can work smarter, not harder. And I know the team's committed to that. So, yeah, thank you.
Just on that point, Manager, is that something we can factor into our Parks and Gardens master planning, actually start to look at that hierarchy that Councillor Schumacher is talking about, start to look at, you know, what are the most effective ongoing maintenance, you know, I suppose arrangements in terms of the infrastructure that we do put in. There may be cases where we can concrete median strips rather than having grass or roundabouts or whatever else, or certain areas to reduce that. Can that be picked up as part of that master planning?
Of course, and the median strip project is well underway, I thought. It's been so it's been well documented that it's progressing, and we're aware of that, so we're aligning our activities with that proposed rollout of the median strip concreting.
I was probably just using median strips as an example. I probably shouldn't have mentioned that, but I think Councillor Schumacher's point more towards gardens, parks and gardens generally.
Yes.
Looking at the ongoing maintenance cost and the hierarchy around that.
Yeah.
If that can be picked up in the master planning around designing future infrastructure.
And that is
with that
right.
very much at the forefront of our minds.
Yep, no, agree. And we really haven't brought back that service plan for council's workshopping either. That was the one that we were unable to convene that particular meeting. So we would certainly incorporate that in the botanical master planning process, yes.
Yeah, I guess I just recognise we have so many gardens. Some of them are quite, you know, the beds infrastructure. I know at the back of Memorial Park, there's all those old asbestos beds. They're full of all sorts of weeds and things. And I guess I'm mindful that maybe we've got too many. Maybe we need to concentrate our town areas. And I know that's part of the CBD works around, you know, replanting, being really deliberate and specific in the areas that we replant to get the best bang for buck, and then, you know, those older pieces of infrastructure, perhaps looking at new ways of using them. So I was concerned to hear that we were going gung-ho with replanting, and I guess I'd hate to see those garden beds full of weeds again if we don't have the resources to maintain them. So that's sort of part of my conversation. So I definitely think that more work in this space and look forward to those conversations.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Schumacher. And of course, this is all part of that asset management process we're talking about with all of our hierarchies, because we are going to have to find more savings. And if we can work smarter, as Councillor Schumacher is indicating, reduce our ongoing maintenance costs, that's going to be part of making us financially sustainable, into the future. Councillor Duff?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was of the opinion that advisory group would look at that kind of stuff and getting better value for money and where we could get better outcomes for the community through our parks and gardens, and, you know, doing it more strategically, not just having gardens plonked here and there. That's what I thought that would be part of the purpose of the committee. But I also am very keen to bed down the winter works program, because I've noticed that in the report you said that it's done ad hoc, and we had some trees cut down in Proston just out of ad hoc because they just happened to be in somebody's mind needed to be done then and there, and there was no community consultation around it. It would be really good to have a winter works program. And the same happened in Mergen, in one of the parks. Those trees just got taken, and then you know, I know that you've got in the winter time you do the painting of different things, and, you know, different tables and chairs or whatever. It'd be just good to have that really documented, so councillors were aware of what was planned. and if necessary, then the community consultation around that. Thank you.
Can I just add too, and congratulate Acting Manager Mark on the way in which you handled that Proston situation. I know it was something that was done well before your time. You come into it now, and the way you consulted with the community professionally, ethically, and very compassionately was much appreciated. So well done, thank you. And also, our town's looking a lot better, I feel, as Councillor Shoemaker alluded to, over the last 6 months. The parks and gardens are certainly looking a lot better. It just shows the benefit of the winter work program that you're doing. I would like, and I've raised this before, to see whether you can perhaps at least, General Manager may start to work alongside General Manager me, and you know my pet topic is some of these intersections, and whether we can perhaps start to have a look at those, only if there is capacity in this current winter program. Fully understand if there isn't, but if there was some capacity, just to address some of that mowing and whippersnipping on those intersections while it's winter. It's going to grow back in summer, I know, but if we can knock it down once a year in winter even, it might just help and straighten the guideposts. So if I could maybe just leave that as an informal thing that perhaps can be taken on board at this stage and see how you go. Okay, sorry, Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You're talking about the parks reviews and things like that and the hierarchy system. We were also discussing a while ago looking at all the parks we have throughout the South Burnett and their value to the community in their specific places, because Councillor Shoemaker and I have certainly sort of noted a few things around the Kingaroy area that could be looked at. But the other thing is with regards to things disappearing in trees, I actually did notice the other day when we were walking that there's a couple of trees that have just disappeared from the forecourt too, up against the library fence. So
I take responsibility for that. I put a customer request in about 9 months ago on that one. So I think I did. Peter, I think, didn't I? Yeah. So I'll take full responsibility for that one, Councillor. That was my customer request.
that was actually quite a shock to my system to suddenly, and then they were just like, yeah, magic happened. So, but yeah, so if we could discuss the park hierarchy and the value of some of the blocks that we have and whether they still have a community use or whether they could be disposed of. Thank you.
I probably won't answer that question. Best to not plead the Fifth Amendment there. Okay, so anyone else want to add anything on this one before we move on? Councillor Shoemaker, are you happy with the response? Happy to move that? Thank you. Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Jones, thank you. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. The Mondi Gardens and Scheduling, oh, that was it. Feral Pig Control, sorry, 10.4. So this one was from Councillor Shoemaker again. Got the response there. Discussion on that, Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'm happy with the response. I noted that Council provides fresh meat bait, 1080 bait injection services for landholders at 6 locations across the region, 3 times a year. I just probably wanted to understand, you know, in terms of, and I know they're reported back, but should we have a target for this? Like, should we be setting ourselves a target in terms of how we manage feral pigs, or are we sort of happy with how things are tracking? Like, I guess I really appreciate the additional information, but that was my reason for the question. I'm really acutely aware of African swine fever, and the information that's here is great. I guess just in terms of our role in mitigating the risks, and you know, it's good to hear to be provided with this detail, but I just wondered, do we need to have a target? Should we be aiming to achieve a specific program, or are we getting results with the current program is probably what I'm thinking. And maybe Councillor Henson, you might know more about that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor and Councillor Shoemaker. Yeah, I'll just allude back to my resource management report earlier on. Pig meat injected, 1080, 114 kilos. The dog meat and the hectares. What that is, and council, and there is programs there for these baiting programs to go ahead, and it's onus is on the primary producers or the people involved that want to get these baits. And again, that becomes seasonal, and it's very hard to target And I know at the moment there's a lot of talk out there because of the wet winter that we're getting, and there's actual summer crops that aren't off and there's winter crops that are planted. There's been an increase in pig movements across the Burnett in certain areas. That being said, they live and they harbour within our waterways as well, and our tributaries throughout the South Burnett that come off the Bunya Mountains. The Bunya Mountains is rife with pigs up in there, and they're just nigh impossible to control up in there because it's so inaccessible. The other thing with baiting of pigs is when you have seasonal conditions like we have, they've got a salad bowl out there in certain conditions, so it's very hard to target them and to take that bait. There's a lot of diligent work goes on out there with the council and conversation with landowners, but again, it comes back to the landowners to take the onus up and bait themselves. So there's a lot of work to do in that space, and can I just go to the bottom of page 91, and I'll read that out because it was brought up several months ago about African swine fever. The greatest risk of introduction of African swine fever to Australia is from visitors and residents illegally bringing pork or pork products into Australia from overseas, and the products being fed or to be eaten by pigs. In the event of an outbreak of ASF, feral pigs can become infected by the virus through eating other contaminated pigs or pork products, 2, having close contact with infected pigs or dogs used to hunt pigs, or 3, having contact with contaminated equipment. I think, and on the back then it says, this in turn can make the feral pig and feral pig hunting activities a vector for spread. For this reason, the control of feral pigs and management of risk associated with feral pig hunting play an important role in the prevention and response to an outbreak of African swine fever. I did deliver to the Chambers in one meeting some months ago that as far as our pork industry is concerned, their compliance within the pork industry, they are extremely comfortable and confident that they'll keep it out. And when you read those dot points there, eating contaminated pigs, having close contact with pigs or contact with contaminated equipment, but go to the paragraph above and it says the risk of introduction to Australia from visitors or residents illegally bringing pork into the country. So, you know, with our border controls and what's in place with ACRES and the likes of those associations, there's a lot of confidence in the control of swine fever, that's for sure. But in relation to the pig baiting program, yeah, again, it's seasonal. I don't want to harp on about seasonal, but it is hard to manage, and the onus is on the primary producers. There's a lot of area out there. When you look at, just for argument's sake, the hectares baited, 20,654 hectares in the previous month, and the year to date, 57,000 hectares. I mean, that's, I think, am I correct in saying South Burnet's 380,000 hectares? I don't know what that figure is. I'm not sure. I haven't GPSed it, but you know, it's a big area. So we're targeting pockets here and pockets there, everywhere, and yeah, it's a work in progress.
You're happy to accept that, Councillor Shoemaker? Move that it be received and noted. Thank you. Seconder for that? Yeah, Councillor Henson. Thank you. Okay, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thanks, everybody. Next one is cat traps at 93. I'm guessing this might have come from you, Councillor Potter. Oh, yes, it did. Okay, Councillor Potter, question on cat traps. Okay, you happy with that response? Okay, you'll move that. We have a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Freiloff. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay, I'll now move motion that we close and go into confidential, and there is a motion here to read. So that council considers the confidential reports listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with section 254J of the Local Government Regulation 2012, item 11.1, management of Kingaroy, Wondai and Mergen swimming pools, and item 11.2, development incentive scheme cap. And please note that Councillor Shoemaker has left the meeting and will stay away for item 11.1 as she has disclosed a declarable conflict of interest. So I'll now move that we close for that reason. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Potter, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. All right. So we'll move that council moves out of closed council into open council. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Duff, thank you. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay, we'll just note that Councillor Shoemaker has now left the open meeting as we attend to item 11.1, having disclosed a declarable conflict of interest. I'll now move that in relation to item 11.1, I will move that the matter... you're right. We'll just wait for that. Yes, she did. Yep. Councillor Duff seconded the move out of close. Correct. You've got it. Okay, so in relation to 11.1, I'll now move that the matter lay on the table until the July General Council meeting. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Jones, thank you. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Item 11. Okay, we can bring back Councillor Shoemaker. Yeah, thank you. Rightio. Okay. Yep, you're right. Yeah. Item 11.2, in relation to the Development Incentive Scheme, I'll move that the matter lay on the table until the July General Council meeting. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Jones. Again, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. All of the items of the agenda have now been attended to, and I'll now call the meeting officially closed at 5:02 p.m. Thank you all for your attendance.